That he was a budding star in the making. 2. Otani, right center field, and deep, and gone!
Offensive line, second down and 3. Big hole. Edwards-Helaire will take it to...
Under 5 minutes to go now. Arvidson's got an open man. Simmons is in!
Here comes Bosa. Here comes the quarterback, Burrow. Looking for a block, and he got it up in the front by Hopkins into the end zone. Touchdown!
Hey y'all, what's going on? This is your boy the Renegade right alongside Rocco Kelly, and this is another episode of Changing the Game. This is episode 17, and like I said before, this is no filter. This is Changing the Game episode 17. I repeated myself yet again. And with us is Rocco Kelly. How's it going, Rock?
It's going pretty good, my friend. It's a good day to talk about sports, and let's get into it.
Man, it is always a great day to talk about sports. Are you kidding? Always good. You know, the one thing about sports is that it definitely brings us all together. And, you know, we appreciate you tuning in. Just saying thanks to all of our fans and to all of the people that watch us. You know, so far we've got a lot of views, a lot of subscriptions, a lot of different things. And like I said, we just appreciate the love. But anyway, enough about that. So let's start with we're going to start with a little bit of NFL. You know, all the awards. Who do you think deserve what award they got, and who do you think did not?
Well, let me say this about the award ceremony. Is when it comes to the NFL honors, I get it. I understand that they do it before the Super Bowl. You know, it's in the Super Bowl location. They have it, you know, at a nearby building. I understand. Here's my question. Wouldn't it make more sense to do the awards before the playoffs or after the playoffs? Because think about it. Major League Baseball does their award ceremony before the championship series. The NBA does their award ceremony before the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
NHL does their award ceremony after the Stanley Cup Finals. And considering I'm a hockey guy, and I'm also a Formula One guy, and they do their award ceremony at the end of the year once everything is done, I believe that the NFL really wanted to have an award ceremony. If they really wanted to make an impact on it, then have it after the Super Bowl. Because, think about it. When it comes to the Super Bowl, it is the most marquee. It is the must-see.
It is.
So having the award ceremony 48 hours before, it kind of makes it lackluster. I mean, yeah, the awards are the awards, but there really isn't a big impact to the players winning the awards, to the teams that win, you know, those team-led awards during the NFL honors. So personally, I think that the NFL award ceremony, it's placed in the wrong place. It's similar to the Pro Bowl, and I've said this about the Pro Bowl for years. The fact that they have it before the Super Bowl and not after, like it used to be, is kind of a disgrace, in all honesty.
Well, yeah, I can see why you would say it's a disgrace. And two, you know, I mean, we get that it's more for the fans, but that's the thing, you know, when you look at it, it's just not as competitive as what it was in years past. You know,
Right.
And for those of y'all tuning in, please like and share the show. We are sharing it on our YouTube. You know, hey, if you could do me a favor, Mr. Kelly, grab that link and share it to my page, you know, because Facebook decided to block a brother yet again. You know how that goes. For absolutely no reason whatsoever. You know, that's gotten a little bit bad. But anyway, back onto the topic at hand. it's to me it's lost its luster. I can't, it's really hard for me to sit through any kind of Pro Bowl or any kind of Pro Bowl. The NBA All-Star game is really bad. And the only one that's still up to standard is the NHL. I enjoy watching the NHL All-Star games, and I think they do a heck of a job with keeping it competitive.
Of course.
They let the All-Stars and the players play, and at the end of the day, I think it's just more for them to, they come out to compete. And that's the one thing that we're missing in sports right now is the fact that players don't want to compete anymore.
So to get back to your original question about the awards.
All right.
Can we talk about the fact that Aaron Rodgers, I got that 100% correct? Before the season, I said on a show that I produced called Sports Angle that Aaron Rodgers would go back-to-back.
You did.
And sure enough, he did. He just went back-to-back, but he has won his 4th MVP in his career.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is the golden boy. Kind of like Dan Marino used to be, but Dan Marino didn't win that many MVPs. In fact, did he even win one? I think he won one.
He won one.
Right, but, he's got that golden boy image, and, it's for that golden boy image sells, just like they say, sex sells. It's the same thing. For sports, this is what sells.
Alright, so when you really look at Aaron Rodgers' resume, and you really compare it, so he's a 4-time All-Pro.
Okay.
4-time MVP.
That's right.
And a 10-time Pro Bowler. Is Aaron Rodgers a lock or top 10 quarterback in NFL history?
Oh, yeah. I would say it. I mean, you got to give it to the man. He has won 2 Super Bowls. He's won 2 Super Bowls, too. Along top with all of the accolades that he does have. So we can't deny him his due. Top 10, yeah, I would say that.
So let me ask this question because I'm leading to a point here.
All right.
There is a certain quarterback in the NFL right now who is on the same trajectory as Aaron Rodgers.
I know who you're talking about too, but go ahead.
There is a quarterback who's had an amazing start to the career. He's won MVP already. He's already done all these great accolades. But everyone asked the same question that Aaron Rodgers has had for the last decade. And the question that Aaron Rodgers has had for the last decade is that you're a great regular season quarterback, but you can't get it done in the playoffs.
Who said he can't get it done in the playoffs? He's got it done twice.
But hold on. For the last decade, because he won that Super Bowl in 2011.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers, he won in 2011.
Okay.
So for the last decade, he has gone 0-4 in an NFC Championship game. That's been a proven fact.
I get it.
So and Aaron Rodgers, keep in mind, has won a trio of MVPs within this decade since he's won that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So there's a young quarterback in the NFL right now that's getting constantly, and I mean constantly, berated as a great regular season quarterback, but just comes up a bit short in the postseason. And I want to ask you, when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, when it comes to the quarterback that I'm talking about, do you think that Lamar Jackson will fall into that same category? A quarterback that puts up great numbers in his first 4 years as a regular season quarterback, but he has still failed when it comes to the prime time?
Well, there again, Lamar Jackson has a whole career ahead of him still. So we can't even say that. Aaron Rodgers is already done.
By the way, was that the quarterback you thought I was going to? Or was there somebody else?
No, I knew you were going to. I knew you were going to. Because the tendencies are there for, both of them. So, I mean, it's kind of, for me, on the outside looking in, yeah, it was kind of up there.
Okay. And then Cooper Kupp wins Offensive Player of the Year.
That's right.
Which is honestly, let's just rename the award what it is, okay? Let's name it what it really is right now. The best player not at quarterback. I mean, that's essentially what that award is, right?
Pretty much
the best.
Pretty much, yeah. Because the best quarterback usually wins MVP. So that's kind of how that goes. It's the best quarterback usually wins MVP, and the offensive player of the year normally wins anybody other than the quarterback position. That's right.
So let me ask you this: do you think it should have been Cooper Kupp or should have been Jonathan Taylor?
No, Cooper Kupp. We give it. I mean, he was 80-something yards close to breaking Megatron's record. I mean, which isn't an easy feat, but you also have to remember, even if he ever does break this record, or anybody for that matter, the NFL added another game.
Well, that's the reason why a lot of these records are going to get broken for game.
Yeah.
But there is one more game.
That's right. So here's my question though: who do you think didn't deserve what they got?
Well, it wasn't MVP because I called that. It wasn't Defensive Player of the Year because I said for months that T.J. Watt was going to win that.
Right.
And Offensive Rookie of the Year, once he had that great month of December, Jamar Chase locked that up. So, to me, Coach of the Year is one that I kind of think is really interesting. Because you're telling me that Matt LaFleur from Green Bay, who, by the way, didn't win it the year before, might I add, you're saying that him going back-to-back with the best record in the league shouldn't have been Coach of the Year?
Ooh. You know what? I'm not going to say that, but, I mean, I am going to say that it does look a little bit iffy when you want to talk about that. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, while we still got a couple minutes left on this segment, hey, who's your Super Bowl pick?
Super Bowl prediction time.
Yes, sir.
I've always believed whichever team has the better line, whichever team has the better meat wall, whichever team has the best 300-pound guys that are going to protect the quarterback and open up those running lanes for the running back. I've always said this, and I've been 6-1 in my last 7 Super Bowl predictions because of this. Now, I'm going to say not because of the spread, because I wasn't doing it back then, but just straight up wins and losses. I've been 6-1 in the last 7 Super Bowls.
All right.
I have the Los Angeles Rams winning the Super Bowl over Cincinnati.
By how much?
20-14. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I don't see it being 35-31. I don't see it being, this 37-34. There's so many people who have it high scoring. I don't see it. The last 2 years have been low scoring. It's going to stay that way. I think it's going to be a very low scoring affair. I have it being 20-14 LA.
Okay, so here's where I'm at with that. And I'm going to agree with you, and I am going to disagree with you, like you always say on the show. You said it about 5 or 6 times on this show already, so here's why I agree with you. Yes, LA Rams, all day long. Where I disagree with is on that score. LA is getting ready to blow them clean the hell out. You see, here's the reason why. Because as good as Joe Burrow and company is, Joe Burrow is the weapon. He doesn't have any more weapons. Like Terry Bradshaw would say, you got to have weapons if you want to win in this league. That's been proven. LA, Matthew Stafford has weapons. on both sides of the ball. I mean, so and here are his weapons. He's got Odell Beckham Jr., who's been begging to get to a Super Bowl. He's finally getting what he wants. Which a player of his caliber, but that's arguable. I don't know so much about his behavior or how he went about doing it, but we got to remember something, that these NFL players are also young. Theoretically speaking, anyway.
Of course.
He's got Odell Beckham Jr. on one side, then he's got Cooper Kupp on the other, which opens up the run game and for that big tight end that they got. Let's not forget him. He's been an unsung hero all year long for them. Then on the defensive side, you got Mr. Sam Darnold, the prototypical defensive lineman, and slash edge rusher that if you were to create a defensive end on Madden, you would basically use his attributes. He's a prototype. Good luck with Cincinnati's offensive line being able to. You think they're going to be able to double team him for 60 minutes? I doubt it.
Well, let me say something real quick about Aaron Donald. And
Aaron Donald. I'm sorry, I said Sam did that.
Hey, it's okay.
Sorry.
Let me say something about Aaron Donald real quick.
All right.
I agree and disagree.
Okay.
I agree that the Rams do have weapons on offense.
They do.
But here's where I disagree. Last year's Super Bowl had weapons on both sides.
Okay.
And it was relatively a low-scoring game. 2 years ago, the 49ers and the Chiefs, there was weapons on both sides of the ball. Everyone knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, it was a, relatively speaking, low-scoring game.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm saying it's going to be low-scoring is because once it gets to Super Bowl, we've seen high-powered offenses be reduced to only 20 points, only to 24 points in a game. We've seen it before.
Okay, and can you do me a favor, by the way, and cut your cam on, for the fans? Appreciate that.
Let me see what I can do.
If you can, don't worry about it. Yeah, and by the way, before we continue, thank you for tuning in. This is I was gonna say Devil's Advocate. Oh Jesus. Changing the Game, episode 17. I'm your host, the Renegade, right along with Mr. Rocco Kelly. We appreciate you tuning in. We got the scores down at the bottom on the ticker, and we also got information for next show, which is Devil's Advocate. Check us out 9 o'clock right here. Anyway, so and after Aaron Donald, though, you still have somebody in the secondary, a young cornerback who's a pretty good shutdown corner in Jalen Ramsey. And they got a little bit of experience underneath their belt with that. And not only that, but let's take the star of the whole show, Mr. Matthew Stafford, who's, been an underrated quarterback ever since he was with that trash-ass organization, the Detroit Lions. That's my favorite team, but they've been garbage since 1957. They've been rebuilding since 1957. What kind of a franchise does that? Now, if I'm the Fords, I would either A, move the team out of the city or selling them because you're doing them no good. Anyway, that's my opinion about that one. But Matthew Stafford is hungry. And that's the end of the day. This game is going to be won or lost by him.
Let me say something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the Rams, when it comes to defense, if you're the Bengals, who are you attacking? If you're the Bengals, are you going to attack Aaron Donald and wear him down? How about Von Miller? Are you going to attack Von Miller? Understand that he's no longer.
Let's not forget about that guy. Yeah, let's not forget about that guy. Sorry about that.
But wait, would you attack him? Because Von Miller isn't the all-pro guy he was a couple of years ago. We all know that.
Yeah.
But he's still pretty good, right?
Yeah, he is.
How about in the safety position? Are you going to attack Eric Waddle? Are you going to go after him? Do you think that that's a possibility they'll go after someone from that side? Because the way that I look at defenses is, who are they going to attack? Eli Apple is the most obvious person that the Rams are going to attack. It's a no-brainer that Eli Apple is going to be who Matthew Stafford is going to be taking advantage of.
Sure, why not?
He's the weak link.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying. Sure, and why not? I would. You know, it wouldn't be doing him any good if he didn't. I mean, that's just kind of it with that. So, I mean, we're both picking the Rams, but I'm picking them by a really wide margin. I personally can't see them losing. You know, I personally can't see them, even keeping it close. You know, but that's just me. Anyway, so with that being said, we are going to switch on over, to the NBA. Do you have any last words before we go ahead and do that? Sorry about that, Rob.
The NFL, they need to make the Pro Bowl either not exist anymore, or they need to make an actual All-Star game that's in the middle of the season.
That's saying a lot there, bud. It really is.
The Pro Bowl was here in Las Vegas. Nobody cared. No one cared.
Okay, well, I can understand that. But, all right, anyway, so we are going to go to the NBA. And, we're going to start with, we had these NBA trades. And we're going to start by listing a couple. So, here's what we got. The first trade we're going to talk about is the Sixers landed James Harden in exchange for Ben Simmons. The Sixers got James Harden and Paul Millsap. And the Nets got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, 2022 first round pick, and then they got a 2027 first round pick. So, my question is, at this point, who do you think won that trade?
This is the most easiest answer I'm going to give during this entire show. Brooklyn Nets won this trade. It's not even close.
Why is that?
Understand that the Brooklyn Nets just acquired a guy that is going to get healthy very quickly. They're going to get a guy who is going to come back in a very short amount of time to Ben Simmons.
Okay.
Make no mistake about it, that Ben Simmons, the moment he got traded, his mental situation, it's going to clear up by the end of the month.
I don't know because he was acting stupid on camera earlier. He was acting stupid on camera not too long ago, maybe about a day or so ago.
Hey, I'm saying to you is that now that he is in Brooklyn, do not be surprised if he suits up in a Nets uniform very soon.
Well, no,
now,
I get what you're saying, and why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? Especially with that contract that they just picked up of Ben Simmons.
There's that as well. That's also another thing that Brooklyn just did that was very smart. They extended Ben Simmons. They gave him a deal. That was smart on their part. Steph Curry, you needed shooters. You needed someone to do your outside bidding. Well, Joe Harris is nice, but now you just got somebody else in Steph Curry. So the Nets just got outside help. They just went and got a guy who could be part of that organization long term. Well, in the NBA, long term is 3 years, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And Andre Drummond is a solid big man that can come off the bench and help Brooklyn. Because Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, they have big men. And now they can do a rotation. There's not just one big man every single night. Now there's going to be a rotation of big men. So, understand that what Brooklyn did in this trade was very smart, and I actually give them a lot of credit for this. It's because they got something back that will help them for the future in Ben Simmons. They got a shooter on the outside that will provide help on the bench in Steph Curry. And they got a big man that will get good, crucial minutes in Andre Drummond. And on top of that, they just got 2 first-round picks that will help them in terms of draft capital for the future. So, the Brooklyn Nets won this trade based off of what they got in return in the James Harden deal.
So do you think that they could meet up in the conference final matchup? Because personally, I see it kind of working out for both teams. But go ahead.
No, because James Harden's on Philadelphia.
Yeah.
There's a reason why James Harden's not going to the Eastern Conference Finals. There's a reason why last year Brooklyn didn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals. James Harden cares about one person.
James Harden.
James Harden. There's a reason why when Oklahoma City had him as his sixth man, Scott Brooks wanted to make him a starting player, James Harden said no. Because James Harden only cared about James Harden. When the Houston Rockets had a chance to go to the NBA Finals, he kept feuding with Chris Paul. He kept feuding with Dwight Howard. He kept butting heads with Russell Westbrook. It's always like that old saying, Renegade. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
There's that.
Right? That's what James Harden has been. It's what he's been his whole entire career. Now, I want to give you a stat, Renegade, which I actually thought was fascinating. Everyone brings up the 13-3 record that James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant had as a unit.
Great.
Right?
But they've been there 2 years, and it's 82 games in the season.
Right. Well, listen to this. Someone actually took the stats and played an entire 82-game season. The Nets would have gone 66-16 if Harden, Durant, and Irving produced the same stats they did as a unit during that 16-game season. It was played out for the entire 82. The Nets would have finished with a record of 66-16.
Right. I mean,
It just goes to show you that they had the potential to be great, but they never let it happen.
Of course, because that's the thing. KD is the only player on that team that's probably got any kind of championship pedigree to it. Because if you notice, it's like a point that you went back to earlier. He thinks about the team. And this is why, he's an Olympian. He's a 2-time Olympian. And he's got 2 gold medals. And he's got 2 championships with the Golden State Warriors. Because he doesn't think just about himself. He thinks about the team as a whole. And we all know that Kyrie Irving and James Harden does not. Now if they can just trade Kyrie Irving, I think they would be great caliber and just build that team around KD. They would be, it would be him and Giannis.
So let me toss this out here for your audience. If the Nets somehow win the NBA Finals, and keep in mind, Renegades, the Nets are still to this day the odds-on favorite according to the odds makers. Even though they are 7th in the Eastern Conference, they're still projected to win the NBA Finals. If Brooklyn does, whose legacy does it affect more? Does it affect Kevin Durant for what he has done with Golden State and Brooklyn? Does it affect Ben Simmons? Because Ben Simmons leaves Philadelphia and finally wins a championship, something he was never going to do in Philadelphia? Does it affect Kyrie Irving? Because Kyrie Irving had the whole LeBron-esque over his shoulder and that huge cloud over his head his entire time. So whose legacy does it affect the most if Brooklyn, like all the odds makers in Las Vegas have been saying, are going to win the NBA Finals this year?
That's a good question. Whose legacy is going to be better? That's a hell of a question, and that would, I would definitely need, a little bit more time in this show to actually think about that, because I never haven't. That's a hell of a question. So whose legacy would be more affected? By them not winning a championship or by them winning a championship?
By them winning a championship. Because if they don't win a championship, there's a lot of people who expect it not to happen. But the odds makers in Las Vegas have made it very crystal clear who they want in the NBA Finals. Do you know who they want in the NBA Finals, Renegade?
Nah, let's hear it.
Brooklyn and Golden State. Brooklyn is plus 400, Golden State plus 450.
So they want Brooklyn versus Golden State, but in the East, it's still too close to call, and it's like that in the West too. Because the West is loaded, but even with that, I think Philadelphia and Ben Simmons, the Brooklyn Nets, kind of sort of made out a little bit equally on this deal, because, well, for all intents and purposes, it's not a long-term thing. I can't see James Harden being in Philadelphia long-term, but that's just me. And I think the Nets really stacked the team up, set them up for success versus failure. So
who won the trade in your eyes, though? Because to me, it's Brooklyn.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. But it's just, well, it's a little close to call, but I think in the end you're right. Let's just say that. All right, so we're going to go on to the next trade. And the next trade, we got the Bucks. They got Ibaka, which is a big defensive help for Giannis. We got Serge Ibaka. They got him via the Clippers. They got a second-round pick, 2 second-round picks from Detroit, and cash considerations from the Clippers. And the Clippers got Rodney Hood, trash. Ojale, he's all right. And I never can pronounce this dude's name. Markinovic, he's trash. You can throw him away. And the Kings got Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles, David, I can't pronounce that either, whatever, and the second round pick from Detroit. And the Pistons got Marvin Bagley III. Personally, this was a trade. I had to say the Bucks got the best of this one. What do you think?
Well, you have to look at it from two lenses. You have to look about who won the trade now and who won the trade for the future. Because there's two different answers. For now, I'd say Milwaukee getting Serge Ibaka. We all know what Serge Ibaka is about. When he was in Toronto, he was a guy that helped the team in terms of chemistry. He is a chemistry-building machine in Serge Ibaka.
That he is.
In Oklahoma City, he was the guy that kind of held that team together when it started to fall apart. Heck, even his brief stint in Orlando, a lot of the young guys looked up to Serge Ibaka because of the knowledge that he had. So, bringing in Serge Ibaka will help Milwaukee, but not for the reason that most people think. He's not going to help Milwaukee because of his on-field, his on-court production. He will help Milwaukee because of what his locker room presence will be. He will help Milwaukee establish that locker room mentality that, you know what, I've already won a championship, here's my ring right here, hey, you guys have won championships as well, let's come together and let's try to win another one. Because sometimes in NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, what league you want to put him in. Sometimes you need to bring in a guy who is great for the locker room. Because if you're great for the locker room, it can make your team better. So, for now, it is Serge Ibaka. However, in the future, I think the Detroit Pistons won this deal. I think Marvin Bagley Jr. leaving Sacramento is going to do what so many former Kings players have done in the past. And that is excel after leaving Sacramento.
Of course, because Sacramento's a shithole. That's just it. We all know that the Sacramento Kings is the Detroit Lions of the NBA. That's just it. They're just trash. They've been trashed, and well, it was a few years where they weren't. But let's face it, they'll never. Yeah, I can't see them making any good moves. They make a good move maybe once every 20 years.
Right. And I know we'll talk about Sacramento Kings later, but can we delete the Kings franchise already? Or force the Maloof family to sell the team already? Like, come on.
I mean, do something. Move them out of Sacramento. I mean, anything. It would
Bring them to Las Vegas.
Because personally, I'm sick and tired of seeing them, just be bad. And I mean, for all the right reasons, this is a bad franchise. It's just bad. It's just throw the whole thing away.
I will say, however, look, the Clippers, they just got 2 players that will come off the bench. The Clippers know at this point they're going to be a fringe playoff team. They know what they are, so they pretty much embraced it.
Right.
So,
I mean, and that's just kind of how how it's looking for them. All right, so with that being said, we got one more trade that I thought that was important to really talk about in the NBA. And this was a shocker. We got the Trailblazers. They sent McCollum to the Pelicans. Pelicans got C.J. McCollum, of course. They got Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell. 3 quality players. I mean, they're not the best, but they ain't bad, And then the Blazers got Josh Hart, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Satoransky. I can't pronounce that either. Hell, let's not even fake the funk on that. They got a 2022 first round draft pick protected, a 2026 second round draft pick, and then they got a 2027 second round draft pick. Now, okay, so I guess my question at this point to you, then, my esteemed colleague, is who won this trade?
well, I mean, you gave such a great introduction, it's kind of hard for me to top it. But I have the New Orleans Pelicans winning this deal.
Yeah.
You get C.J. McCollum, who is one of the best shooting guards in the NBA when he is fully healthy.
Facts.
You do get a guy in Tony Snell, who I will say, because I watched him in the Mountain West, he came from New Mexico.
Yes, he did.
He is a solid shooter. He's not one of the best for today, but he's a solid shooter. And then they also acquire a guy who will be able to come off the bench, and they will be able to help the Pelicans in key situations. So, yes, the Portland Trailblazers, they get 4 assets back. All right, that's fine. But when it comes to this deal, I believe that the Portland Trailblazers, they really didn't get as much as they should have in this deal. Because, yes, you get a first-round pick, that's protected, might I add, and you get a few bench players, to help with depth.
You do.
So, I have the Pelicans winning this deal. They got the better end of it. I'm actually really shocked, Renegade, that you didn't talk about the best trade that happened at the trade deadline.
Go for it.
And I know this happened technically days before the trade deadline,
Okay.
but it still counts because it did happen around trade deadline time.
Okay.
And that was the Atlanta Hawks trading Cam Reddish to the Atlanta Hawks, essentially straight up for Kevin Knox.
Man.
I thought that was a massive trade. I mean, you pretty much took 2 guys who were from the same draft class, 2 guys that were 2 picks away from each other,
True.
and you swapped them for each other.
Yeah, because it's possible that that's who they wanted all along anyway.
Right. So let me ask you, because I think that Atlanta won this deal. I always thought Kevin Knox was better than Cam Reddish. I thought Kevin Knox had a better upside than Cam Reddish. But I just wanted to ask you, who do you think won that trade? Because it's really interesting how the Hawks and the Knicks essentially traded their 2019 draft picks for each other.
I say the Hawks did because they got who could be a pretty good piece for them, and some help for Trae Young out there in Atlanta. And that's kind of the way I look at it, just overall. I mean, he's got, this kid's got a great upside. A really good upside to him, and he's proven that being in the NBA so far. He's young. And, it's going to be interesting to, be able to track his development.
In fact, actually, let me tell you a trade from the past that I think is kind of similar to this. Now, obviously, these two guys who were traded for each other were amazing athletes. I'm not saying that Cam Reddish and Kevin Knox are going to have the exact career like them, but it's a similarity.
Okay.
The Washington Wizards and the Golden State Warriors, they did a trade where it was Chris Webber, and they had Antoine Jameson and stuff like that. However, they took the Antoine Jameson pick and they flipped it to Toronto with Vince Carter. Because a lot of people forget that the Golden State Warriors originally drafted Vince Carter, and the Toronto Raptors originally had Antoine Jameson. So, around the time that they were ready to start the season, Antoine Jameson and Vince Carter were swapped for each other, straight up 1v1, and it kind of seems like Golden State got the player they wanted from the beginning, Antoine Jameson, and Toronto got who they wanted from the beginning, pretty much, in Vince Carter. Do you remember that? When they pretty much swapped draft picks for each other who they wanted in the first place?
Yeah, I remember that. And, of course, it really paid off for, Toronto in the end. Especially, taking a look at this legendary player in Vince Carter, and one thing about Vince Carter I kind of hate to see is the fact that, he hadn't won NBA crown. That's the one thing I would have loved to see him do.
And give credit to Antoine Jameson, though. I mean, 11 years in the NBA is nothing to stop that.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And, I'm happy to, I'm just happy to see, all this parity, especially with all this young talent coming, in the NBA now. And a lot of these teams are going to be locked into these deals and can't make, the LeBron James move, is what I call it. And we'll be able to see a lot more teams, have, one superstar, maybe two, and build around them. And this is quitting all of that LeBron James crap, because we're seeing how that's working out now.
So it's like the Memphis Grizzlies then. They pretty much have built their core for the draft.
Yeah, I think so. They just need a deeper bench. They just need some players that have some role players that can come off the bench and, really give some quality minutes. And I think that they would be one of the elite teams, for years to come, especially with the development and the emergence of Ja Morant.
I will say Ja Morant top 5 in MVP voting.
Yep.
Now, I don't think he's going to get it.
Of course
but
not.
Him being top 5 really tells you how far he's come.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Of course not. Why would they give it to him? Because you still got LeBron James in the league. I mean, he doesn't have to do anything to win an MVP. I think at this point, for his career, it's just more or less padding his stats. Or, him staying in the league because A, he wants to play with Bronny. And B, he wants to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer. So there is that. So, with that being said, we're gonna touch on a little bit. We did the NHL last time, and you can check out some of the scores down at the bottom of your screen. We're gonna go on ahead and jump to Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. Let me ask you a question. Are you surprised that McGwire, Rodger Clemens, or Barry Bonds didn't make it into the Hall of Fame?
Oh boy!
Let's have that conversation.
Woke up and chose violence today.
Right.
This is a topic that I got very heated about when it happened, and I'm gonna try not to make this a long rant. I know we only have an hour.
yeah, with 15 minutes.
But let me recap it the best way I can. Mm-hmm. Understand that they let in a guy who did PEDs. David Ortiz was busted in 2013.
Sure was.
So the MLB, and more importantly, the voters, of the MLB, NBA, WAA, one of the worst names ever, by the way. Them putting in David Ortiz, but excluding Clemens, excluding Bonds, excluding Sosa, excluding Manny Ramirez, excluding insert name who was caught doing steroids. It really shows you how hypocritical the voters have become.
Sure.
Keep in mind, Renegade, the reason why David Ortiz was put in is because of how favored and how liked he was by the players. How favored and how liked he was by the media. Understand that this was just a popularity contest. This wasn't about the talent. This was about how much the media liked David Ortiz, how he always took photos, how he always did interviews, how he always was on time, how he always did this and that. The reason why Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame is because he had problems with the media and outright refused to talk to them at certain points in his career.
So you're saying that because he wasn't a fan favorite, they didn't let him in?
Rodger Clemens had notorious problems with the New York media when he was a Yankee.
He did.
Sammy Sosa had problems with the media after his playing days were over. Mark McGwire outright cussed out the media after his career was coming to an end. You're kind of picking up on what I'm saying here, Renegade?
Mm-hmm.
It's all about bias. It's all about, what did this player do for me? Or, what did this player do for me in terms of interviews? What did they do for me in terms of photo ops? This is why the media, and I'm saying this as someone who is part of the media, by the way, shouldn't be allowed to vote for the Hall of Fame.
Nope. And
I've been saying this for the last 12 years, and I'll say it for the next 20. If you are a beat writer, if you are someone who's a head editor, if you are the chief of a newspaper company and you have a ballot for the Baseball Hall of Fame, did you ever put on a jockstrap? Did you ever put a bat in your hand? Did you ever step with those cleats onto that field? Because before anyone calls me a hypocrite, Renegade, I wouldn't want myself to be a voter. Because I didn't play the game. I mean, I played Little League. I mean, if that counts as your expertise, then sure, fine, go right ahead. Oh, I played Little League. But I wouldn't want to be a voter because I didn't earn being a voter.
Yep, totally agree. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And here's a number I'm getting ready to throw out there at you. The most surprising number of all. 4,260. That is the number of hits Pete Rose had in his 24-year career. Yet he's not in the Hall of Fame because they said he was gambling. Now here we have a player in David Ortiz who's been let into this Hall of Fame. And he's been let into the Hall of Fame and he did PEDs, which personally is way worse. Than that. And Pete Rose, he never bet on his team to even lose. 4,260, that'll never be broken. Forget it. You can add, I don't care how many.
I'm going to tell you what I've said on my show, Sports Angle, in the past. A show I did, for many years. Pete Rose will be let in the day he passes away. MLB will posthumously put in Pete Rose. One reason why, Renegade?
Why?
Because of how much Pete Rose has bashed MLB. He has done it to radio stations, he's done it to TV reporters, he's done it on interviews, podcasts, you name it. There's a reason why they didn't let Pete Rose.
And you know what? He should have on every trip.
And there's a reason why MLB didn't let Pete Rose be at the 2015 All-Star Game in Cincinnati. They didn't let him be there. Because of the fact that Pete Rose has pretty much taken every chance to bash MLB. Meanwhile, he has actually been one of the biggest speakers of baseball. He just bashes MLB every chance he gets, but he loves the sport of baseball. So, understand that, and I'll be willing to bet anybody on this, Renegade. The moment he passes away, they will put him in the Hall of Fame the next year. Because
and you know what?
They won't be able to bash him at that. He will not be able to bash them at the Hall of Fame ceremony.
And you know what would happen? Tell you exactly what would happen. That would kill the game of baseball. Because you know how many people would turn around and boycott or whatever it is, the Major League Baseball? That would literally finish Major League Baseball if they done that.
Hey, they've done it before. There's a reason why I know this. A couple years ago, Major League Baseball did it to one of the Golden Era veterans.
Who?
If you don't know, Major League Baseball has two separate ballots.
Yeah.
Okay. That second ballot, there was a guy who was brought in, former White Sox legend, one of the pioneers of the Negro League. He passed away a year before they put him in the Hall of Fame, and everyone, including myself, believes they did that on purpose so that they couldn't bash MLB and how racist they were during his time as a Major League player.
Yeah, we know that though. I mean, that ain't nothing.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just telling you the reason why MLB did it. Because they didn't want him saying all these things about MLB during the Hall of Fame ceremony. So, he died, passed away, and then a year later, they posthumously put him in the Hall of Fame. It's very calculated.
Yeah, and posthumous is kind of a way of putting that. So, I mean, that's, but the rest of the players that got in, they got in and they should have been in. I really wish that Jack Morris still had, some time left to be on the ballot for Major League Baseball, because I think that he was one hell of a pitcher. Even in his day, Jack Morris, Brett Saberhagen is another one. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame yet. But I think he's still got, a couple more years left to be on the ballot before he's considered ineligible. There's a lot of players, but I guess the hall isn't big enough for everybody that, deserves to be in there. So, whatever. But yeah, that 4,260 is a record that'll never be broken. And, I think they need to give the man his due. That's just my take on the whole situation and on the whole Hall of Fame issue. And, to be all honest, I hear about the Hall of Fame, but I don't pay too much attention to it based on that fact alone.
Well, it really started in 2012. In 2012 was the last time the Hall of Fame wasn't loaded with politics. Reason why is because 2012 was before the steroid era guys really started to be on the ballot. I mean, yeah, you had your Cal Ripkens, you had your Tony Gwynns, but those were mainly guys from the 80s. The guys who were playing in the 90s, they retired in the mid to late 2000s. They were not put on the ballot until 2013. That's when Schilling was brought in, Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, Ramirez. When those guys were put on the ballot, that's when you saw politics come into play. And I'll say this, Renegade, once, and I'll say it 100,000 times. When you put politics into a Hall of Fame ballot, you're not doing your job right.
Nope, but of course, hey, the MLB has lobbyists too, and I'm sure they're getting different types of payoffs, and that's the problem, with sports in general these days, is that it's gotten way too political. Even Major League Soccer and the MLS has gotten political. The only league that's not political that has been upright, and I will, continue to applaud them in the way that they run their organization, is the NHL.
Well, I mean, there's been a few political things, but for the
they've kept it to a minimum. They've done a great job of keeping that to a minimum. And I applaud them for that because, no matter where you go, there's going to be some kind of politics. I get it. But at the end of the day, the MLB, or not the MLB, excuse me, the NHL cares about the sport in general. And this is
what
why...
you get when you have a bunch of people from Quebec who speak French. So.
Well, yeah, there's that. But, there is that. But, hey... and that's why they've been so strong for so long. And, I applaud their leadership because it's been instances where they've had tragedies and the NHL community has all came together. Quiet as it's kept, and it's a really terrible thing that it's kept so quiet. They may not get the ratings like, the NBA or the NFL, or even Major League Baseball, but they're one hell of an organization, and they do things the right way.
Well, it depends on what you're looking at. Let me say this about ratings real quick. The NBA, in terms of worldwide, is the biggest. That's undisputed, okay?
Yeah.
Out of the big four sports, basketball has the biggest following. You have nearly 3.5 billion people who watch basketball around the world. The NHL has about 500 million people who watch it worldwide. In comparison, American football is about 150 million and baseball is about 210 million. So, from a worldwide view, no one's touching soccer, by the way. That's 5.5 billion people. And heck, 5 billion people just watched the freaking World Cup recently, the last time that happened. But, in terms of the big four that we always talk about, Renegade, basketball's first, hockey is then second, and then baseball and football. And a lot of people shake their head when I say that, but it's true. American football, in terms of worldwide, only has about 150 million people. That's it.
All right. Well, with that being said, we are going to go to the big finish. All right. So, Mr. Rocco Kelly, plug yourself, please.
Go follow me on Twitter at RoccoverKelly. I have a bunch of projects that I'm working on. A lot of things I'm doing behind the scenes. So my Twitter at RoccoverKelly. I'm also doing a Changing the Game with Renegade here every single Saturday. There's also going to be some projects I'm working on with a friend of mine, which I will let a lot of people know in due time. But I've also been doing a show called Sports Angle. Did 672 episodes of it. And our website, sportsangle.com, had over 100 articles on there, all archived. You can all look back and look at them at thesportsangle.com. And once again, follow me on Twitter for all the latest things I'm doing at RockoverKelly.
All right. And, of course, you all know me. I'm your host, The Renegade, a.k.a. Arinthius Frazier. You can check me out damn near everywhere. I have a No Filter Facebook page. Check us out. Please like, share. Please like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We would definitely appreciate it. We got all kinds of content coming out. Tomorrow, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Devil's Advocate with, again, the Renegade and Miss Danny B. We'll be talking about a real touchy subject tomorrow. So, let's keep your hats on. It's going to get a little dark, but that's all right. We do a great job of keeping misunderstandings and everything to a minimum with that one. I got so many things going on, man, that, I can't even really mention them all. We're about to, just undergo go to the next phase of, developing No Filter for everybody around the world. We thank the fans. We got 2,200 followers in 23 different countries. We love you all. Please check us out at www.nofilterproductionsllc.com. That's getting ready to be reconstructed as well. Good God, and I know I'm forgetting a few things, but we will be sure to keep you updated on all the latest that we got going on. And thank you so much for tuning in. So, with that being said, for my co-host here, Mr. Rocco Kelly, I'm your host, the Renegade. This has been another episode of Changing the Game. This is episode 17. We will see you right back here next week, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all. And as I always say, if you got to end anything, end in peace. You guys have a great one.